talk about the code committee hearings that happened back in April for 2015 codes. We've kind of culled through everything that was discussed and pulled some of the highlights that we think would be important for us to look at as a group. We want to see what your interests are and potentially what some actions we could have as a group related to the code changes. Like if there's anything that we believe as a group we should be advocating for, if there is anything that was not approved in the code hearings that we think should be revisited. Perhaps we want to make edits to something and resubmit it and submit it as a coalition of support from the Alliance. We could do that. And if there are any things that we would object to that we might want to look at as a group as well. Duncan Prawl from our team was actually at the code hearings with many of you who are participating by phone today, to try and give a very high-level look at the impact of some of these code changes. There were really five factors that became apparent. Some of them are for clarity purposes. They'll provide clarity to you as the builder, but they may also provide a significant amount of clarity to the code officials who are raters or others who may be looking at the code to make sure it's implemented properly. Flexibility, potentially offering you other options for technology, other ways to comply with the code. In this instance, performance, we would say, is anything that contributes to quality, energy efficiency, overall durability, and performance of the home. And then the two on the bottom are really if there was something that jumped out to us in terms of saving you money or costing you money, not so much the homeowner. Those are really the cost and savings potentials for you as the builder. So on each of these slides, as we go through the proposed code changes, we've flagged what area they might fall into, which will give you kind of a little cheat sheet if you were to look at these slides later as well. But these are the Group B code changes for this year. We're in the comments and approval process. There were public hearings was public input with the code committee in April, and they're looking to get additional comments submitted by July 15th. So that's the opportunity we have to respond back to these changes that have been suggested and things that have been going on over the last couple of months. And then the final code hearings will be in October, and we're looking for approval by early 2014. There's a link on this page directly to the page on the ICC website that contains the full report out from the meeting, as well as other resources for you. So we'll make this available to you as well. So Duncan's going to start off with high-level changes from a code perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Betsy. We probably came up with 80 or 90 individual changes that may have some kind of impact, and I've kind of tried to group them together in some sort of logic. The top bullet is actually the code change number, and you'll see there are RBs, REs, RMs. Those all relate to the building, mechanical, or energy code. But the first kind of high-level stuff I saw was that they're looking at reducing the minimum room size. I think currently it's 100 square feet. They're looking to go down to a 70 square feet. Part of this is to make these there's some tiny houses that are out there now that are like 8 by 8 that people are living in. So they're making them legal by code. They've also dropped minimum ceiling heights for bathrooms, and that seems to be an area where could be good for integration of duct systems within the conditioned space of the house. And the NAHB Research Center has been doing a lot of work on using rim boards as headers, and they have a bunch of prescriptive tables in the approval that allows for these rim boards to be used as a header assembly instead of putting a header in the wall, which should help reduce cost and can make value engineering a little bit easier. Next. A big area of change is the energy code compliance, and it really there's been a lot of work going on to clarify the differences between what is a prescriptive pathway, a performance pathway, and what are mandatory requirements regardless of whether you're doing prescriptive or performance. What's interesting now is that the performance path is being significantly enhanced. Energy ratings and green building programs are specifically recognized. They have brought back the allowance for trade-offs on equipment, which was in the 2006 code. So there's equipment, air tightness and duct tightness trade-offs allowable in the performance path. Some can argue that's greater flexibility for builders. Others argue that's a step backwards for energy efficiency in that you can now perhaps make a less energy efficient enclosure with a higher efficiency piece of equipment, which could potentially revert back to a lower piece of efficiency equipment in the future when that high efficiency equipment fails. But I don't know that that's a huge issue. The energy rating kind of mirrors the HERS scale, and there are specific numbers in the code for compliance with the code based on the current HERS scale. The challenge there is that there's some other areas in the code with the window areas that is different from the HERS minimum rated house. I'm not sure that's going to be a big problem necessarily, but I think there's going to be some challenges on integration with HERS software and the rating method that is used to calculate a HERS index, as opposed to simply having a pass-fail energy compliance checkbox within the rating software itself. It may be better to be using a checkbox initially. The other that was a very good submission by a home energy rating company was a clarification of the performance path and how a builder would step through with their code official on doing a performance path itself with a home energy rating process. It's a very good, very clear step-by-step activities of who does what and what gets submitted and what kind of information gets submitted when. So that was good. Next.
Before we switch, I would say if we were to look at what we might want to advocate for, this would be a great area, since I can't see any issues with any of these changes. I think they're all really in line with what our builder members should be looking for in terms of flexibility of the code. So I would suggest, if everyone's open to it, that we show up in support of these changes as a group. So I'm just going to throw that out there now.
And the last one is just a better definition of conditioned space within the building. Again, as using ratings and other methods of a performance path, having a clearer definition for code officials as to what is inside and what is outside conditioned space is going to be useful. So that's the other sort of overarching area that was approved.